if you just take it seriously, like there is nothing in the way to do whatever it is you want to do. To anyone that feels like, if only this, that's not the right way to look at it, you know? That's the one cool thing about this stuff. You really can do something, like you. So if you want to do something, like prove it, do it.
And this one, I'm going to be talking to Jay Hill. He's a character artist and 3D modeler working in games. He's mostly known for his work on games like Back 4 Blood, Apex Legends, or Evolve. You also probably know him from his YouTube channel where he teaches about all the kind of stuff that goes on in working in games, from career stuff to actually just technical advice to kind of how to get into the industry and all the sorts of things. In this episode, we're talking a little bit about how he got his start, and he shares a little bit about his experience in high school and his first exposure to art and creative fields in something that seems sort of unrelated, like a drafting class, and then eventually how that led to a professional job in games. By the way, if you'd like to consider supporting me, please consider checking out the links below in the description. There are links to courses by Morgan Weistling, Ryan Benjamin. Also, for anyone that might be interested, there's a free model pack for anybody that signs up to my email list. So that includes 574 free high-res images for anyone that might be interested in having that just as a reference asset pack for your drawing. So yeah, thank you for clicking on the episode, and I hope you enjoy it. So the way I have been starting these things lately has been like, I think one of the general things people are wanting to know about is like, how do you choose what to work on, you know, and how do you commit to something? I think that often people are intimidated by just the amount of work that they have to do and the like perceived skill level where they're at and where they feel like they have to be to get started. And I guess I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on like how you chose to kind of do game art and 3D art versus going down a different path, and then also committing to, you know, building a YouTube channel and, you know, taking it as far as you've taken it, you know, now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that people can get in their own way a lot, overthink and over strategize things. And so I'm constantly reminding myself to keep it simple. And I think honestly, just as I rewind back when I was younger and younger, it came naturally to just do things because I wanted to, you know, or had a general intuitive sense that like it would be good to do this, or I just wanted to. And so it's very like on a whim kind of stuff. So even nowadays, I try to be cognizant of the thing that's going to happen to instigate me doing something is going to feel like a whim like that. Like it should be, it doesn't have to have all this strategy behind it. And then the whole like doing it and, you know, creating something and it turns into a project and all that, then I start to think of it more like strategic. But I feel like mostly what I'm doing is trying to retain that sort of doing things because I want to do them and the intrinsic value of doing them. And I just have blind faith that it'll work out. I think that's, at least for me, that's worked out the best. I think nowadays people get really tangled up with all this like meta think about it. It just, at least for me back in the day, it was not that well thought out. Nothing is. When it comes to the YouTube channel, it was, again, mostly an intuitive sense. Like I just knew I wanted to, it's like multiple, and this is another thing that I do maybe in terms of like doing things for me, for like doing 3D projects. There's a lot that goes into them and they take a lot of time. And so I'm kind of trying to batch things that I want to do. Like the saying, like getting every part of the buffalo, like if there's more things I can get out of it, it gives me more reason to do it. So with YouTube, it was when I started it, I was at a time where like it was hard for me to start projects or have like reason to do it. And I was a consumer of YouTube videos, like Call of Duty commentating and things like that, StarCraft and stuff. And the idea of like, you know, if I recorded something and then talked about it, I could share it. And I would have wanted content like that. Maybe I could do it. And then it gives me reason to do it. And then over time, I saw people, by creating YouTube videos, they kind of created their own brand, as it were. Like that became something where if you know, people would know who you are enough where, you know, you don't have to introduce yourself. And so maybe you could say, hey, check this out. Or it became like useful. And then as I kept doing it, people in the industry would be aware of me, and I just wanted to be a part of the community. And so just kind of, just good things are happening, so I just keep putting it in, if you know what I mean. So it wasn't like a strategic business plan. It's just I knew it would be good to do, and it would give me reason to do things, and then, you know, kind of one thing leads to another. So yeah, to summarize, basically I do things for like simple reasons, and then I just try to stick to them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's often the frustrating thing for people to hear who are like just starting out on their journey, because I think there's that impulse to think that there's some magic secret or something or some strategy to being successful, you know?
Yeah.
And to hear that it's like you just follow what is, you know, what interests you and what you care about and what you can get yourself to do, is almost like too simple for people, or it's almost too reductive. And I feel like, you know, it's sort of a weird thing having talked to so many people about this, but it's totally true. That's the weird part, is like, if you just go through and like you take the doodles of the margins of your math homework drawing Goku or something in third grade and take that to its logical conclusion of, you know, if you do that for 30 years, you end up working in games and having a YouTube channel, or working in animation, making a good living and be able to, you know, afford to buy a house and have a family and all that kind of stuff. To me, it seems like almost trying to be as honest or as like forgiving of yourself, and like, I don't want to say it's like ignoring conventional wisdom, but like doing your own thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is hard to do. I think that's why people get tripped up. And, you know, the things I say a lot when I speak about this is that oftentimes, especially when you're younger, so much of what you're doing in other aspects of your life requires sometimes like external permission or external validation, or there's some kind of success criteria. And in art, there's none of those things. Like the actual, just actually making art, right? It's just someone doing something because they want to, because they like it. It means something to them, and then putting it out there with no other reason to do it. And that's what I like about it. But there's some people are just not practiced in that, right? So we get tangled up with like art becomes a career. And so they think of it like, what career school should I go to? What trade should I learn? Or like, you know, people think of it like a, you know, gamer strategy, like what meta should I do? Or what skill tree should I, you know, and you just start to get tripped up in it, where those things can be helpful sometimes to give yourself structure. But yeah, the simple thing that takes a long time. I think we know it when we're young, and then we try to hold on to it when we're older. In the middle, it might get confusing, but yeah, it should just be like you're doing what you enjoy doing, and you're doing it just to do it, you know, like it's really a hobby, dude. Like doing it for money and everything is silly. And I think that's what's happened in the last 20 years is people think of it more like that. They're trying to, you know, and it makes sense, you know, it'd be cool to get paid to do it. But music, you know, I bring that up a lot. People play music. I think we're at a point now, right, when young people are doing music, they might have like kind of a dream of like, oh, it'd be cool to play on stage and stuff, but like doing it for a living, that kind of thing, I don't think that's as prevalent. People play music, and the people that get good are people that continue to play music because they enjoy playing it. I think it's the same thing with art. If you're not enjoying like doing whatever you're doing for hours a day, then you shouldn't do it. And so it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, if that makes sense. You're just trying to orient yourself.
Yeah. One, I think that's the biggest thing for me that I've been trying to focus on lately is just the workflow. Like, what can you actually get yourself to do? And, you know, again, there is that meta and that, you know, that constant thing of like, which art school do I go to? Or am I, you know, studying the right stuff? Am I trying to get the right jobs and all that? And the problem with that is like, the answer might be no or yes, just depending on perspective. And if you think about it for more than a millisecond, it's like, you can find a reason not to do it. And like, it's been interesting for me just experiencing a little bit more success on YouTube. I'm like doing the same thing that I've always been doing, but it's just the packaging, the formatting is a little bit different. You know, that's the only thing that has really changed. and the content of it has not. And I think the last time we spoke, you mentioned a little bit about how the success that you've had in your career so far has been kind of out of your own hands. Like, so many other things had to have happened for you to have a YouTube channel. You know, there had to be technological advances with ZBrush and computer graphics and all this kind of stuff. And you feel like you're just kind of riding a wave.
Yeah.
And the weird part about that is, like, you know, you can't predict that. You know, you kind of have to move forward with your career and the things that you like, assuming that stuff is going to happen. And like almost like having faith that it's going to happen in some regard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, essentially, like I keep saying, like when I was doing this stuff, I just had blind faith that something would work out. And I think if anything, if I had any kind of advantage or like good advice that I heard, the only thing that sticks in my mind is what my dad said, because my dad was a teacher and he loved teaching. And just as long as I can remember, he would tell me, you know, do different things and then find what you're passionate about. And whatever you find that you're passionate about, you know, just keep doing that thing and eventually people will pay you to do it. So I don't know, he gave me some general advice like that all the time that just became, that's how I thought the world works. And I still pretty much think that's the way it works. So when I was like in college, like you asked how I got into games, it's so silly, dude. Like, so in high school, I was a poor student for like a number of reasons, but I was also probably just a spaz. And, you know, anyway, so this one teacher, I took drafting in my high school because in the description it says something about drawing. And so I took it, I guess, the first year of high school. So I take this drafting class. Turns out it's, people might know, but it's like what CAD became, right? So there's these big drawing tables with T-squares and shit, and you're doing technical drawings. And they have to be like really perfect and everything. And I had this teacher, his name was Mr. Atsugo, and he used to be, you know, an architect guy. And so yeah, like really taught you like being meticulous and patience and stuff, but I was able to focus. Anyways, he took a liking to me, I guess, and I must have been a pain in the ass student, but I kept going back there, and so like if you did drafting 2, drafting 3, I would go back and it got into 3D modeling, and he noticed, I guess, that this art thing was kind of helping me not be such an annoying, you know, overly energetic boy, I guess, and that maybe I was bothering other students and stuff too. So he would like segregate me and focus me on a computer. Anyways, he really put me on the path to this whole technical thing in 3D, and that's where I learned about Art Center. And so it was great that I met him. I was also in a graphic design class in high school, and nobody knew Photoshop, and like people thought I was a whiz kid, and I got a lot of like positive affirmation that way. People thought, like including the teacher, thought I was a magician just because I did Photoshop tutorials at home. I knew how to do stuff, and I was like, this computer thing's cool. This is for me. And then so I learned about Art Center from this drafting teacher, and then I got something in the mail that was a scholarship thing, but it was from the Art Institute, and I mistakenly just thought that was the same thing. And that's how I ended up going to the Art Institute. So silly. I like toured the school with my parents, and then while I'm there, I got like a $200 scholarship, but a tour of the place, and I thought it was cool. And I was like, I guess I could go here. My parents, fortunate for me, my parents were like, if you want to do this, they just didn't want me to join the military. So my dad was like, if you want to do this school, go ahead. And they saved up for me. So again, like super lucky. And I thought game development, okay, 3D modeling, like I could probably do VFX after this. So that was how like not important everything was. I was just like, I like 3D modeling. That was for sure. My friends are doing it. I was doing it at home. I was showing them all these programs back in the day, and every VFX thing, and like, you know, Jurassic Park, like the wireframes and everything. I knew I was super interested in this. I just like what I'm going to apply it to, I don't know. So games I wasn't thinking about, collectibles, YouTube, tutorials, teaching, you know. So that stuff comes later. And it's easy to say now, but I know a lot of people, like, including my wife, like when you ask them, what are you really passionate about? Like what's some activity or thing that you feel like you could kind of marry to the rest of your life, like that you would want to do every day? Not everyone has an answer for that. But I think I did. I just like this computer art thing. And I'm confident, like for the rest of my life, I'm going to figure out a way to do stuff with it because I'm never going to stop doing it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think from that perspective, like the thing that, like, if it wasn't the Art Institute or some other, like it would have been something else, you know?
Yeah.
That would have gotten into.
I think
like,
that's the thing about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, you know, I think from that perspective, it's all just about pursuing the interest. And no matter how meaningless or how small some opportunity seems in the moment, it leads to other crazy things down the line. Like for me, like I was like a clueless kid. My dad worked in games a little bit, and he got me like an internship out of high school, and I was like, I guess I'll go do that. And I went to this studio in Santa Ana every day for like 6 months. And there I like met this guy who told me about Marshall Vandriff. And
Which studio?
it was a Digital Funk Machine. It was like, there was the guys who did like, they were like Konami guys that left Konami to go make this thing. And it was like a, you know, a small mobile game company, and they were eventually bought out by somebody. I can't remember exactly what, but they, you know, I was just like some intern guy, like some 18, 19-year-old kid just trying to figure out how, like, what do I want to do? I like games, so I guess I'll try that. And I would drive 30 minutes there and then like an hour and a half back because Santa Ana traffic is horrible.
Yeah.
And just like did it. And then over time, I became friends with people there. And one of the guys there, his name is Brent Griffith, told me about Marshall Vandriff. And like, he's this like amazing teacher that he had in college. And he really enjoyed his time with him. And then during that time, I was taking just some like base fundamentals of drawing classes at Saddleback College in Orange County. And the teacher there also told me about Marshall and stuff. And eventually enough people had told me about Marshall to the point where I sought him out at a workshop at the Art Institute in Orange County.
That's right.
And yeah. So, you know, that place, you know, it seems to be, it's notorious in some ways, but also
Marshall's well known too. I knew people at LCAD that know him.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's like for me, I was like this clueless kid just trying to like figure out what to do. And there's these people around me telling me, like, I didn't know who Marshall was. I was just like, he sounds cool. I'll go take a class with him. And I like went to the Art Institute, like 300 people showed up. Me and like 4 other people stayed afterwards. And I talked with Marshall and like told him I'd be his friend, being like a naive 19-year-old or something. And then he was receptive to that. We hung out. You know, I helped them with some stuff, some random projects. Then eventually, this is a very short version of the story, but he introduced me to Stan and Proco, and I offered to Proco that I'd work for him for free, and then that led to other things and stuff. But it all started out with me doing this like sort of in the moment, like small thing of just interning at the small game studio, you know, just following the path and being open to the things that were being put in front of me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like whenever I talk to people about like people who are stuck in their careers or, you know, stuck in their lives in terms of like, what do I do next? Or what do I do with these skills? I'm always surprised by like, if somebody goes through and actually analyzes and actually answers the questions of like, what are the opportunities right in front of me? They actually have a lot of really good options. It just might not be what they want to do. Like they feel like they should be further ahead than they are right now, you know, but they aren't, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's almost like that entitlement or that like feeling of insecurity is the thing that's holding them back versus the actual opportunities in front of them.
Okay. Yeah. I do think, you know, you mentioned about control earlier, you know, so many things around, you know, us, are out of our control. I have just 2 thoughts when you were talking about this. Like, I think, you know, when I look back, there's two ways to look at it. On the one hand, I got super lucky, all these things that are completely out of my control all the time. And that's how it is with life. But the one thing that I can control, and that's what I like about this art thing, you know, these personal projects. I get to do whatever I want, you know, just because And that is what I control. You know, when you're starting out in like what I do, you know, you have to make a portfolio and then later maintain it and stuff. You know, that's kind of your ticket into conversations, your portfolio. And that you really do control that. You know, that's what I like about the thing I do with 3D modeling is it's a one person thing. At least it can be. You know, when you join a team, obviously you're going to be on a team. But I really like that about it. Like, you know, you can't be a basketball player if you're not blessed with something. You know, there's a lot of other things that aren't as pure, where I do think if someone wants to be a creative nowadays, like literally, there has never been a time where people have more options, more opportunities, more tools affordable at their disposal. Like that should give me like an empowering thought. That's how I feel about it. Is like, I was like, I have to do this. Like that feeling of not being in control of what's happening to you and where you're going and your own career or your own, what you do all the day or where you live or whatever. Like it's tormenting, dude. I can't. So the idea of like, you know, if I just did this thing, this can be my way to change my surroundings the way I want to, you know, like, and I'm trying to be broad because everyone has a different creative thing, but like the fact that we're on YouTube and that we have all these digital marketplaces, that you have all this information on YouTube you could look at, you could listen to like world-class people in whatever field you want talk online for like a nominal fee. You can buy VFX software, you can buy game development, you can get Unreal Engine for free. Like, you know, if you just take it seriously, like there is nothing in the way other than time and all that to do whatever it is you want to do. And yeah, to me, that's like a super encouraging thought. So to the people to anyone that feels like, if only this, that's not the right way to look at it. You know, that's the one cool thing about this stuff, this like single art creative pursuit thing, is that you really can do something, you know, like so if you want to do something, like prove it, do it. Like you shouldn't be waiting to get a job. You shouldn't be waiting for somebody else. You shouldn't be waiting for whatever. Like everyone has the tools to do stuff right now that could change their life, or at least make them feel more content. Like the fact that you're putting effort into something for yourself, I just think it's so important. That's why I kind of preach it to people, that I think just doing personal creative projects because you want to, making that a habit is good for you. Like just, it's intrinsically good, and it could lead to these unforeseen opportunities, which I'm sure people are kind of after in the first place. But I'm saying, like, it's almost like fitness. Like people are very goal oriented, but the truth is actually, if you just make it a habit, like a lifestyle, if you change your lifestyle, then down the road, good things happen. See what I mean? Like just as a byproduct. And that's kind of what I want for everyone. Like I just want people to keep doing creative stuff, to do it, and they'll get better. Like back to your example about YouTube, you know, it's the same. It's a good allegory, you know, like it's your interest. It's your personal interest. That's the engine. Okay. That's driving it for you to take actions. But then by you doing it over time, you know, you think, the content's the same. That's like, just like in art, like if an artist was like, I'm drawing the same things, like it's guys with muscles, but it gets more sophisticated, you know? So what you're doing, you're making more videos, you're getting better at thumbnails, better at titles, better at editing, better at email copy, better than, you know, questions, whatever, right? That just because you're doing it, you can't help but get better. You're iterating on it. So like there's this very simple engine at the root of everything. And by just doing it, it's going to get better. And I can tell you from experience, people overthink it. They try to plan this stuff. But to me, I will get bogged down. So I try to, you know, do what I preach. I just try to make it simple. Like just sit down and do stuff and don't think about it. Don't overthink it. Just keep making stuff and good things will happen. Even if, you know, you don't have some big life-changing thing, that's fine. I hope another thing that people, when I talk to them, I hope there could be like a mindset shift, because when someone comes to me about career advice or making a living or, you know, working on some big AAA game, I get a little bit like, oh, dang, you know, I just want to help reframe that, like, really the success metric should be, can I consistently create work that I'm proud of in a way that I'm comfortable doing? You know, that's something that is achievable, so that you're not bent out of shape doing it. So you don't have an emotional baggage. So it's not like you're not torturing yourself. You're not burning out, and you're doing work that you are proud that you did. That is something that people can achieve. You know, it's not easy, but you can achieve that. That's completely within your control. And if you do that, if you get to there, that's a journey in itself. If you get to there and then you're doing that consistently, now shit might happen, you know, but you can't control all this other stuff. Like, that's just, yeah. So getting bent out of shape if it's not useful. And if you can be happy making art you're proud of, then that's it. Then you could become successful.
Yeah. Well, it seems like every successful person I've talked to has pretty much said the same thing, where if you just do the work, eventually great things happen. And I think that could be a little bit of a frustrating thing for people to hear, because, you know, obviously people feel like they should be further along than they are right now. Everyone wants to be, you know, a character artist or a concept artist designing stuff for their favorite TV show or game or something. And to hear that the only thing they have to do is just keep on going, and it might take 10 years, that's scary, you know, and it's discouraging.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why it's important to detach yourselves from the outcome, because that's really not the reason we're doing it for. Like, if you hate the process of it,
exactly,
you're already shooting yourself in the foot. You're not going to be able to do it because you're not going to be able to do the work it takes to actually get to that level. I think it's just so important to like ignore metrics and jobs and just focus on, just like the moment to moment, day to day work of it as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, I think the phrase detaching from the outcome is so on the nose, and, you know, it's like kind of unfortunate that I'm speaking on it, because it luckily worked out for me, but that's what I'm trying to communicate, is that like, I don't even want to say that if you just do art every day, you'll become successful, because that's not true either. I mean, like financially successful. Again, I think success is like doing work you're proud of consistently. You can do that. And that does feel like success, even if it's not your day job. And there's plenty of famous artists that passed away before they were well known or had money, you know. That's a classic tale too. What locked it in for me, and this could be a good thought experiment for people, is I realized when I was younger that like, if I was on a deserted island and no one was there, I would find ways to like draw and do shit. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, okay. Like that is what it should be. Is like, I think the mindset shift I hope people could have is, this might just be your hobby. You know, whatever the creative thing that you're into, it might just be the thing that you do on the side of things because you like doing it. And again, it might work out. Like the writer of, Jordan Peele, you know, he wrote the script for Get Out over like 4 years. And he said it was just his hobby. Like, instead of watching TV, he would just write a little bit, and he would write it and rewrite it. You know, when Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, he did it for his kids. Like, there's a lot of examples of people doing it just to do it. That's the mindset shift. That's the mindset shift that I would encourage everyone to have, because it's more realistic, and you realize you're doing it for the right things. You're just doing it. So if no one was around, like if you had no goals at all, what would you do? And that could help you find the thing that you should actually be doing all the time. And then maybe it'll work out, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Well, the money might come or might not come, but it's, you know, that's your only chance. You know, I remember when I interviewed Greg Broadmoor about it, he said something similar, and he's like, it's like the only way to do it is if you do it every day and you try your best. And then he rephrased himself. It's like your best shot of doing it. You have the highest likelihood of it happening if you just put yourself in the opportunities where it can happen. And if you look at, like any major game project or any major movie project, none of it made sense on paper in its earliest stages, whether it be Lord of the Rings or League of Legends or whatever. You could take something to a stage to where it was just somebody's hobby. Like League of Legends is famously just a Warcraft 3 mod, Yeah. And those were guys just like playing Warcraft 3 for fun and doing this game mode where, it was silly. It was not serious, and now it's turned into probably one of the largest, most successful games of all time, with a giant Netflix show and a giant audience, just through just doing the work,
Yeah.
And when I had Richard Taylor on my podcast, it was interesting to me to hear a lot of the same things that everyone always talks about, because to me, he's like, he exists at the top of a certain hierarchy of like just creative credibility. Like no one has any reasonable right or expectation to see themselves ever being as successful as Richard from that perspective, winning as many Oscars as he's had, employing 500 people or something at Weta, working on as many movies, just being so creatively influential, and still saying like he will spend a day himself just putting around and sculpting because he loves doing it. It to me was a really gratifying thing to hear. And also him saying that when he looks at portfolios, he doesn't look at the quality of the work. He looks at the work that people did on their own,
Yeah, great.
and that being more of a thing that he bases hiring off of versus the pure quality of it.
Oh, great. Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Richard's the man. And yeah, I do that too. When we were in interviews, I would ask people if they do personal work, and if they do personal work any kind of recently, it's just a big green flag, that you're like, okay, these are people that are doing it. That's like what I mean before. Like, would you be doing it for no other reason? Those are the people that can figure it out and make it, because that they're doing it. Yeah, that's great. It means that they're passionate and they're interested in this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like there's like I feel like there is the optimistic side of just saying do what you really love and do what you really care about, and then there's the realistic side of things where you have to like pay rent and pay your bills and pay for health insurance. Things are going to come up that are real life things. So it's like I all this being said, I also understand why somebody might be desperate to get a job, or desperate to get out of the barista job or something, just for the sustainability.
Yeah,
and
that's kind of what I mean though about like, just don't, if this should just not be your plan A to make money, being creative, or whatever your creative interest is. If someone's listening to this, that's what they're trying to do. But what I tell people is like, you're going to have some kind of day job because you need money. And then if you can graduate from there, from like the barista job, or I was a waiter, if you can get to the place where someone will pay you to do something kind of nearby what you want to do, adjacent, that's like the next ring on the ladder, like if you're into 3D modeling, if you're just doing any kind of 3D modeling, or if you want to get into like making commercials or being a graphic designer or whatever, right? Just something in the orbit of where you want to go. That's the next rung. Because getting to a place where eventually people are paying me, my day job was using software that I am using in my personal projects. I was like, hell yeah, dude. Because now I'm getting paid to get better at this software thing. Because now I can spend like 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, right, doing this. So, and that can help, because putting in the time is how you get better and better at something. So once people start paying you to do it, that's great. That, to me, that's a success. But yeah, for sure. It doesn't mean people need to give up on it, like you. Yeah. And if you do want to give up on it, give up on it. Yeah. What you said before, the people that make it are the people that just are going to do it, but they just never gave up on anything. Like, they're going to do it no matter what. And that's what I mean is, yeah, if you do it because you enjoy it, you're good. And also, like, I would challenge people that think they don't have enough time, like, track how much you're on your phone, how much you watch Netflix, how much you play games. Let's see how many hours a day, that you're doing entertainment stuff, and like maybe 2 hours of that could be some other, like, some creative entertainment. Again, I think it's just rewarding too to make something.
Yeah. Oh, it takes work too, and I feel like you almost have to earn that ability to love it. Like, no one starts out like loving drawing or sculpting. Like, you do it, and eventually it becomes something that you'll choose to do over anything else. Like, I'm sure at this point there's like parts of your day job that, like even working on big games and stuff, that are very tedious and things that probably aren't that sexy, like UV mapping sucks probably, and it's like the same process for things that you were doing, 10 years ago or something, but it's still worth it to go and suffer through that to just get to whatever thing is next. And I feel like for me, I'm kind of like, as I'm getting more successful, quote unquote, I'm realizing that there's like nothing beneath me in terms of things that I should be willing to do, like editing a video and having to manage files and audio files and schedule things and do all these different things. Like part of me thinks that like, oh, once I get to a certain level, I'm not going to have to deal with those things. But the reality is, no matter what, there's tedious stuff that I'm going to have to do just to keep on doing the thing. And yeah, again, going back to what Richard was saying when I was interviewing him, it was like he would make a point whenever he would see a toilet in Weta workshop that was dirty, he would clean it because, philosophically, that's just where he wants to see himself. Just, I'm not above cleaning a toilet, even if I'm quote unquote like a big Oscar winner CEO guy.
Oh, he's awesome, dude. I love Richard.
Yeah. I also don't want to be like a Richard Glazer completely, but I think it's just interesting to hear how most of success is like de-glamorizing it and just being okay with like digging holes and just doing tedious work and finding a way of making that tedious work interesting. Like, I think like a good analogy is how running is the worst thing on the planet, but you still have people choosing to run marathons and, do ultra marathons and stuff over, and that could be more enjoyable than eating ice cream and watching TV.
Yeah, I love running, dude. Yeah, I love running. I didn't like it, I guess, before, but yeah, I that's another thing I encourage everyone to do because it's such a good lesson. What I like, if you're at all into like overcoming whatever challenges are in your way, you want to complete projects, or you just feel like you stop doing things before you're done. That's what I eventually liked about running, is it's so simple that while you're running, you just have this one goal, which is to not stop running. I love that. It's so simple. I can do it and I can listen to an audiobook, or other things are very engaging mentally. And you have to keep track of all this shit. With running, you just go, and like, yeah, you might be uncomfortable. You just don't stop until you do whatever you're trying to go to. And so it's just like a little annoying. And then when you are finished, you're like, hey, I didn't stop. So it's like so basic. I like that a lot. And it taught me that sometimes you can't get that from projects, at least so quickly. Like in one day, you can say like, I'm going to run 3 miles. And then when you're running, you're just like, oh, this is annoying, but you just don't stop running. It's just like this very simple thing you're telling yourself, just don't stop running. So yeah, I do like it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the analogy there is like, if you run really hard for a day, you run 10 miles in a single day, that's going to have less of an effect on your health and your, I guess, health as a runner than if you run, even like a half mile a day for a year.
Mm-hmm.
That half mile a day is going to mean a lot more than that 10 miles in a single day. And I think the parallel there is the same thing with getting better at art and drawing and painting and sculpting, is that like little meaningful, consistent practice is a lot more impactful to your whole life rather than, doing stints of, like I'm going to like super focus for a little bit and then you quit essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trying to find a way to be consistent is good for everything. Absolutely. Yeah. And I try to not fall out of practice. It's probably why Richard sculpts some, so he doesn't lose the art of it. And just to go back to Richard too, because like in all seriousness, I do think this is true. Like Lord of the Rings is my favorite shit ever. And so I was like 15 years old when it came out, and I got my parents would get me the extended every year. I still have them. I still watch them all the time. There's a definitely a community of us that just watch the behind the scenes appendices a lot. And it was during some formative years. And I really do think that New Zealanders have, especially compared to like where I'm from in California and stuff, and at least maybe the American culture, like they have a different outlook and temperament and whatever, right? They're another culture. So that was how I was introduced, and seeing the appendices of how they made the Lord of the Rings it's such a big epic trilogy, and almost everyone had never done anything like that before that were working on the movie. And they have like local sayings, and that they're all extremely humble, and they're like grinding but having fun, and they take the piss out of each other, and they're not trying to be arrogant and all that. And like you're talking about with what Richard did, there's always a story that I think encapsulates it. These two guys were interlinking all the chainmail every day with their fingers for like 3 years, and they were happy to do it. I really do think that just being introduced to that way of thinking during that formative time really has a lot to do with how I try to. That's what I want to be like. That's what I want to be like. I want to be able to do this kind of stuff for fun and do the grindy, tedious parts, like you're saying, but still be happy to do it. Saying be humble sounds super cringe, but the way that they do it, it's like they're not, like you're saying, not be above it, and they're not doing it to stop doing it. They're just doing it and having a good time and trying to figure it out for the fun of it. Anyways, I think they were a good example. Is what I'm saying. Yeah,
for sure. Well, and I think across the board, the people that I know that make at least from my opinion, the best art are the people that are like that, that are just doing the work and just being humble and, kind of just focusing in on the process as much as possible in sort of like a stoic way. And I think where a lot of people get into trouble is that like fantasy of like, being like a legendary artist or something, or being famous, and that distracts them from finding meaning in the moment to moment, day to day kind of stuff. Like in my own life, like I'm a lot better off like focusing on just becoming a better artist and becoming a better editor. That's going to have a lot bigger of an effect on my career than just going and like trying to get as many accolades as possible so people like me more. It's like that analogy of the runner is just to me that's just how I try to be creatively. Like, don't pay attention to the end goal. Just try to focus on the chainmail as much as you possibly can, because that's like that's where the magic happens, really.
Definitely. And it's sustainable,
Yeah. And I think it's it's always fascinating to me seeing how boring success really is. Like visiting big studios or talking to successful people, it's like, they work really hard. They have rigorous schedules, and they go and do all of the things. It's not like the, Lord of the Rings. It wasn't made with some really fancy Hollywood stage set or anything. Going and visiting Wellington, like the sound stages that Lord of the Rings were shot at, they're next to like a rinky dinky, pub. It's like kind of run down a little bit. It's not sexy.
No.
And when I was walking around there, Greg was showing me there's a tree right outside of Weta Workshop that they used to get the grafting for tree beard. Like the texture of the tree was brought over they got a silicone mold and made tree beard out of that. It wasn't some like, they didn't have to go and get some legendary tree in the middle of Africa or something. They just did a tree that was right in front of them,
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry for the. Yeah.
No, I love it.
It's just interesting. Yeah.
It is interesting. I love that. That's what I'm saying. Like they have a great attitude about like, let's just do it, and they try to have fun doing it. It seems like.
And I think the funny part about Lord of the Rings is just all the little mistakes that are still in it. It's not a perfect movie. Like, I mean, I think it's, well, but it's like when the writer wrote here, Carl Urban's character.
Yeah.
You know, when he gets on a horse, his sword falls out of the sheath.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
It's like when you see it, you can never unsee it.
Yeah, there's a thing like that. Once you're aware, yeah.
Well, when Gimli Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn all meet the writers of Rohirrim for the first time, and he gets on his horse, his sheath totally just falls out, and they did not reshoot it. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Yeah,
it's so hilarious. Like it's actually in the movie, and it's like, wow, this is like, you can go and not be perfect, you know.
Yeah.
And you could still go and make something that's so culturally significant and so meaningful to so many people, you know?
Oh, yeah. I would kind of argue that like a little less than perfect is better than perfect too. I think perfect is sterile and boring. You know, it kind of leads into like the AI thing, but I do think that little bit of, it's charming, dude. Another little one too that no one can notice, because I didn't notice until they say it, you know, when one of the behind the scenes or whatever, is sometimes just for better framing, they'll in the edit, Peter would flip the footage horizontally, so you can see the pendants under the brooches that'll, like, the leaf is going different ways sometimes, because they'll just write them, which is a crazy thing, because you think you'd notice, because some people's faces are like super asymmetrical. But yeah, that's another interesting I try to like watch.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. I think that like Oblivion coming out and doing as well as it has is another sign of that. Like, Oblivion is a super janky game. It is like, I mean, it was well made for the time, but there's a certain amount of,
they left some
the jank and the charisma there. That's what people really love and they resonate with. It's not the polish. And
yeah,
you know,
I would say for those things, it's like we're in this new era of games where like they're selling nostalgia now. And that's what you want. You know, like I was so into Counter-Strike. And so when I went back to play Counter-Strike Source, and then when I went back to play CSGO,
Valorant,
I think they did a great job in both cases, where I would go back to it, like ready to hate it. And then it would feel like the high resolution version of my memory. And I'm like, oh, good. They didn't change the certain sound or animation or whatever. Like I was like, this is Counter-Strike for sure. And then when you go back to, I would go back and see footage of like CS 1.5, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, this is what I played. Oh my God. But yeah, there's some things you don't want to change when you're essentially selling it to the fan base, you know, that played it. If they changed it, it wouldn't feel like Oblivion. Yeah. So I like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's like the hard part is like seeing that and applying that to yourself in real time. You know, it's like I've never had a big YouTube channel or big following myself, but it's like my podcast, it feels like it has a little bit of a cult following among a very small select amount of people, where I get messages all the time about people who they've seen every episode and they're like, you know, they really like it, and they've rewatched things, and looking back on it now, I'm like, dude, that sucks. Like, I'm so stupid. I'm saying things that are wrong. The audio, like I remember I did an episode of Steven Zapata, and we recorded on the side of Brooklyn, just on the streets, and next to a train, you can hear just like a horrible
nice ambiance. I like that, dude. It's like you're in your escapism.
But it overpowers us, you know, and you can hear like people screaming outside and stuff.
This is murders and stuff.
Well, and I think there's that, like, that desire, that impulse for, like, for me, I wish it were perfect. I wish it were better, you know. Mm-hmm. But there's a version of it that if it were something else, and it's no longer like it's no longer what it was. It's no longer. It might have lost its edge and its appeal to people in the first place. And it kind of goes back to that, like, just doing it in the way that I was able to do it versus the way that I wanted it to be, you know. Like if I've mentioned this a lot before, so sorry for anyone listening, but if I had the perfect podcast setup and all the correct microphones and the correct studio and all that kind of stuff, I might not have done it, or I couldn't have done it at that moment because I couldn't have afforded it. Afforded it. And starting in the way that I did, like it's led to so many other things. And in a way that, like, waiting for it to be perfect wouldn't have, you know. I don't think I could have gotten Richard Taylor on if I had, you know, done it in a way to where it was perfect from the very beginning.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I love that you, like, I messaged you when you did Richard Taylor. That's so sick, dude, because I'm a big fan. And Greg Broadmoor, who are, Greg's kind of a little bit low key. There's lots of people that don't know his work in the industry for some reason. I always loved the stuff he did since I discovered him on District 9. Then he has some personal projects that are epic. But yeah, about the perfect thing, it's something that I say a lot in my class with people, because I'm aware of some of these traps too, being that I've fallen into them all the time, and I'm aware of it now. So people starting out, like, I do these big character projects, so do a class where we're all going to do that, and it's going to be like 8 to 10 weeks. And I tell people, there's a million ways to say it, but there's perfect is the enemy of done, is that one? And there's another one, better done than perfect. I mean, there's a lot of versions of this. And I tell people, like, get ready, because right now you're super clear-headed, but a couple weeks into this, you're going to be fucking bent out of shape of some small stuff, and it's going to be this large form of resistance that's keeping you from moving forward because you don't feel ready. And I try to tell people, you're never going to feel ready. And at least in what I do, the idea is, like, just go forward and just keep moving to the next step of the process before you feel ready. And at the end, we can assess, we can iterate, we can polish, and in a way, your podcast is even kind of that. But yeah, I think just going is it. And in general, kind of that's what we've been speaking about, I think, is this overthinking stuff you can have, creating more resistance for yourself. And it makes sense to just close your eyes and jump in. More often than not, it's going to be totally fine. And if not, we're human. Who cares? We move on to the next one.
Yeah. I just think the idea of getting rid of shame as much as you possibly can is like the only really real way to move forward with stuff. Like, it's been interesting reading business books and just watching podcasts and talking with people, because it seems like the people that are, like, the most arrogant and the most, like, delusional are the most successful a lot of the time. And it's like, it's not like competence. It's just like, oh, like, how hard could it be? That sort of mentality that really gets them to progress.
Yeah, we are definitely in, like, a shameless era of successful, a lot of shameless, successful people right now in the world.
Well, and it's like the people I respect too, it's like people that I think are doing really good work that just, were just doing it, and they didn't really know how hard it was going to be. They just did it anyways. And I think it's like it's so easy to get discouraged, and it's so easy to get nihilistic about where you're at or where you want to be, no matter who you are. And to me, that seems like the thing that stops art careers or any career in its path the fastest. Like, you start to doubt yourself and start to think that there's no way I could ever do this thing because I didn't have this thing growing up, or again, it's just the reasons not to do things that there's a lot of people's judgments.
There's a million reasons. Yeah. I mean, I sound like a fortune cookie now with all the, like, little things, but that saying, comparison is the thief of joy, is another super common one that people fall into with art. Is that, especially with nowadays with, like, Instagram and ArtStation and stuff, you mentioned people compare themselves, or they say, this is how old I am, because I catch myself doing it too. And really the thing to refocus on is the realistic achievable benchmark for success is that whatever project you finish is better in some way than the previous one that you've done. That it's your personal best. That's what you're striving for each time, is your personal best. And that you can do. And if you do something, you're like, that was not my personal best, then okay, then that's real data you could do something about. You can think about it, you can compare, find ways, ask different opinions. That will give you something actionable, so that the next thing you do is your personal best. If you string enough of those together, then you're making significant change. But, like, comparing yourself to someone is not useful. And also with the art thing, again, it's such a simple thing, but very hard to do. When you're early on, you should copy people. But when you start making when you start trying to make stuff and make things on your own, have your own voice and make your own art, it actually just coming from you, you're just, I like this, I want this, I care about this, I want to make dragons all day, I want to make whatever it is. And you're like, that's exactly enough reason to do it. And then you do that. It's not, you're not saying this person does this, so I'm going to do it. And it's, again, for me, I put it out there because it sounds simple, but you have to kind of keep reorienting yourself, because in other areas of life, it's not like that. And yeah, if you get too carried away of like, I should be doing this, or I'm not as good as this person, those aren't useful thoughts. They're not going to help you. You just got to do what you want.
Yeah. I also feel like that the idea of best is somewhat subjective too. Like, I think that, like, something might be really bad and it might be received well, and vice versa. Something might be really good from your perspective and not received well at all by an audience. And I think, like, the idea of best from my perspective should be your own subjective opinion of it versus the reception of it. Like, I think, Rick Rubin comes to mind of like being super in line with what your tastes are and what you care about. Because the reception of something is almost, it's almost
unrelated.
Yeah. It's completely,
It should be unrelated to, you should feel like something is your personal best, whatever metric you're using, but just do you like this more than the previous thing you made? Yes. Good.
Yeah.
If not, let's make the next one better.
And I think it's a frustrating thing to try, I don't know if frustrating is the right word, but it's confusing sometimes, because I think sometimes we'll put effort into something that we really like, that is better from our own perspective, that is than something that we've done before, but it is significantly not as well received. Yeah. I do sound like a broken record when I do say this, but it's like that detaching yourself from the outcome and just, like being very aware of what you like. Again, that's really the only advice that I would really try to give anybody.
Yeah. I'll add on to a little bit, like, because part of what I do, I mentioned like doing art on an island for myself. I would do that because it's a great way to pass the time for me. It's engaging, but like, I feel like a lot of what I do in my personal work, part of it is showing it to people, I make things and I share it with people, and I enjoy that part of it. I'm making things to show other people, and I've been doing that for a long time. Like, even when I was a kid, I would make little videos and edit them and show like my friends, show my parents. So in a way, I feel like it's an extension of that. So that audience reaction, to call it that, and it's weird, but just showing people and seeing how they like it, see what they think, it's part of the enjoyment that I get. And so confusing, as you say, I think is a good word for it, because I want to be careful not to change too much about what I'm doing, or like shift my priorities around that much in a way that's disingenuous, but at the same time be aware of like, oh, they don't like this, but they like this. That's interesting, and try my best to learn from it. So I've had many examples of kind of what you were talking about, of like me personally thinking this is good and putting it out there, and it's just like kind of a dud. And that happens. You hear that all kinds of media. But on the other side too, it's been one of the most positive things to happen for me. I think we may have talked about it last time, but I did this Flex character for one of my videos, and it's my most viewed video now. And it became the character that I'm most associated with so far, at least 3D character art that I'm most associated with. And it took me not that much time. I didn't overthink it. I made it up, and up to that point, I would never call myself a character designer. I don't know if I would now either, but so just kind of without thinking about it, somehow, because I was doing stuff for a while, I fell into a groove of doing things like I would have probably when I was younger. Like, I was just making a girl that I thought was cool, and I wanted to practice some stuff. I wanted to use a new tool. So it was enough distraction where I wasn't overthinking it, and I made up a thing, and for whatever reason, it connected with people. And because I got such a strong signal of people liking it, also just for the nerds out there, like, because I do 3D models, sometimes I do stuff because I'm interested in all kinds of stuff. So sometimes I'll do stuff where like the render takes like 8 hours, because I'm doing like unbiased rendering, and I'm trying, because I like to play around with what VFX artists use just for fun. So this is like, this work and video became my most viewed one, and it was in Unreal Engine, so it was real time. It took like 2 seconds to render this frame, and I can move the camera, so it was easy. I just made up the design, yada yada yada, like all these things that were counterintuitive to what I was. If I were to sit down and try to plan a quote unquote viral video, right, it never would be like that. It would be some pop culture figure, and you see that sometimes. You're like, oh, this big property is coming out 6 months from now, I should try to time it with that. That's the kind of thinking if I sat down, right, and I tried to do it. But I just made up a character randomly, and I put it out there, and it became my most viewed video, and that reframed everything for me. And I'm really thankful that random thing happened, because now I don't try to think of viral videos, and it gave me permission, or it was just like, hey, people like it when you just make shit up. And I was like, oh damn, sick, dude. That's all. Isn't that kind of what we would all want? So I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. And especially when you're early, again, if you're trying to make artwork that people like, you keep thinking about, I'm going to do these other famous characters, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do a big high detailed render. The fact that this was none of that, and I just did something I thought was cool and people responded well to it, I'm just really thankful that happened, because it really, it just gave me permission to keep doing that and follow my interests, and it kind of took away some of the other thoughts you'd have that are external, that like, whatever. So I'm really happy. So that's the other side of it, that putting something out, and the opposite can happen too, that you can get a better response than you imagine too, which is cool. Interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like the honesty thing is the most important thing there. And I feel like it's been strange for me, because I've been managing a few people's Instagrams, and some of the posts have gotten like 100,000 likes or a million views or something. And it's like, that's pretty cool, But when I try to apply those same things to myself, like the same content strategies, it's not working nearly as well. And I think it's like, it's mainly because I think it's not coming from a pure interest perspective. It's coming from like a technical perspective for what I think people want versus what I'm making specifically. And it's sort of like, I can't get to the point where I'm making something that people want without first like trying to do it in sort of a cringy, sort of like awkward way,
Yeah.
And I feel like that's it. I mean, it always goes back to that idea of just doing the work and kind of just responding to stuff as it happens, because you really don't get to explore unless you're actually going and like experiencing that embarrassing failure sometimes. And from another side as well, it's like, I think there are levers that you can pull to affect the reception that have nothing to do with the quality of the technical art as well. Mm-hmm. Like if you're trying to make a YouTube video for something, and you do the best sculpt that you've ever done, but the thumbnail and title suck, no one's going to watch it. Yeah. Whereas if you do pull that lever of trying to focus on what a good thumbnail and title is, that actually might 10x or 20x the views. Which to me, that's like a problem with just pure presentation and packaging. It's not the technical skill at all, which I think it's been interesting for myself to observe how much packaging and formatting can affect something's reception as well.
But it's true of everything too. It's true of your own art, true of your portfolio. That's what commercials are. Yeah, I think it's I think it's a useful lesson. It's something I liked about YouTube is like getting firsthand experience on all this on a micro level, right? But it's like the packaging, the title, the thumbnail, the imagery, the release window, all these things that every other brand, every other company, every other product is like having board meetings about. You get to like go, oh, okay, yeah, it's helpful. So I think it helps with personal work too. I think of it as like showmanship. A lot of times with character artists, they stop short of that last bit, the title, thumbnail, presentation part, essentially. Like I think when I teach my class, we go over thumbnails for ArtStation quite a bit, and sometimes I wonder, are other people having this conversation? I don't know, but like, yeah, thumbnails on ArtStation are obviously huge too, because I'm sure a lot of your audience knows about ArtStation and uses it. So yeah, with ArtStation, it's like clicks per minute is what gets you onto the trending tab. If you can get on the top 3 rows of trending tab, now your work's in front of people, then they click more, and it's like a snowball effect. That's how you can get discovered. So to me, it's like so important, the thumbnail,
it's huge. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, when I review portfolios, a lot of times I have to say, yo, your thumbnail, dude, come on, man. And so, yeah.
Yeah. I think even from a more macro perspective, just like when someone's trying to get a critique of a drawing, just how they photograph it makes a pretty big difference on how it looks as well. And I don't know. I think that like it's interesting for me because I'll talk to some companies or some people that I perceive as these really big artists who don't give a shit about that stuff at all, who like they could be doing better on social media if only they were to be doing this, you know? And I think, yeah, sometimes people focus too much on becoming a better technical artist or trying to just increase their accolades versus just trying to focus on the actual packaging of it. You know, it's sort of an example of one of those like, you know, little 5% of effort things that could drive 90% more effort or 90% more reception, instead of, you know, focusing another 10 years on being better at sculpting or drawing or something.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. That's how you stand out. It's so noisy out there. But also say, you know, there's plenty of like established people where like they don't need social media at all anyways. And, you know, they don't. People are happy, that's fine. But I think mostly this applies to people that are trying to be discovered or trying to do your own thing. I think if you're doing your own thing, you got to really take seriously presentation and packaging too, right? That's how people can like engage with it. So yeah, but if you're just doing your own art because you're dope, you know, there's a lot of old legends that they don't really need social media the same way. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I guess it always goes back to whatever your goals are.
Yeah.
We've been going for about an hour. Do you have a hard cut or?
I don't have a hard cut. No.
Okay, I'm down to talk for a bit longer. If
you want. That's good.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always strange to me seeing just how there's so many different ways of doing this stuff correctly. Because there are people who exist purely off of Instagram and YouTube that have very successful careers that I just don't know about. Or like it's a pretty surreal experience to go onto YouTube and just look at how many channels there are with over 1 million subscribers that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like a couple years, like even like 5 years ago, if you had 1 million subscribers, that was a lot more meaningful than it is now. Like,
subscribers really don't mean anything now, honestly. But I like them. I want the number to go up just for no reason.
Yeah, it is validating. But
yeah, it's. I wish there was something else that meant something. But right now, yeah, subscribers on YouTube is a very silly, weird thing. I think it'll probably go away.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like I guess just off the scale of things, like there's so many different ways of being successful and just having people see whatever thing that you're doing. Like I was listening to Tim Ferriss's podcast with Brandon Sanderson, and they were talking about how Brandon Sanderson, if you don't know him, he's one of the he's an incredibly famous fantasy author. He's
okay.
He did a Kickstarter.
Okay, I may have listened to his. Does he teach at Utah?
BYU? Yeah. That guy.
I listened to his lectures. Yeah,
he did a Kickstarter recently and it raised like $40 million for fantasy books. So it's like the biggest Kickstarter ever ran, and raised an absurd amount of money. And he was talking about how on his own personal website, he'll sell dozens of copies of a book, you know, like almost nothing, pretty much nothing. Where on Amazon, on Audible, he will sell hundreds of thousands or millions of copies of books, you know? And it's like, even if you're the most famous author on the planet, it's the platform you're existing on that might determine your success.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. You got to be where the people are. Makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that's often where some people might struggle. It's like they might have great art and they might have an actual genuine product to offer people. It's just they're in the wrong marketplace sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're at all in the entertainment art world at all, like ArtStation is the place, and maybe Instagram, but I feel like we may have talked about it before, social media. I feel like if you're not doing art, or like if you don't have some like secondary reason to do social media, like I almost feel like it's probably better to stay off.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that good, but yeah, it is where eyeballs are. So if you're in the business of eyeballs, it helps. So you should do it. But yeah, ArtStation I think is good to go. And then when it comes to like businessy stuff, yeah, I guess it depends on where you go. Again, ArtStation Marketplace has done well for me, but I'm in a weird niche. But yeah, wherever the people are in your like community, or it makes a lot of sense. And normally that's kind of natural because that's where you're hanging out too. Obviously buying books on Amazon, that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess it's again, I think people want like. I think the advice there for a lot of people is just to exist in whatever platform that you usually spend time on. Like I don't know anything about Twitter at all. I've never spent time on it. Same thing with like Threads, or I'm not really on Discord at all ever either. Discord. And I think it's they're all great, and I know people have had crazy success stories on Discord. Like your Discord has like 10,000, 20,000 people in it. Right. Yeah,
something like 11,000 right now. But like, I should better curate. He's gotten so much now that I have to mute most of the channels. So I need to go in once in a while and like see what's going on. So yeah, maybe we can update it. But yeah, there's a lot of people in.
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. I feel like Discord is becoming like the new email list.
Yeah, I think of it like that. Yeah, I do think of it like that. I also have an email list though, so I'll message out on both. The thing is probably people similar to me. If it's too much noise, then you got to mute the channel, so you're not going to get a notification.
Right.
So it's not as good as an email list. Email list is still the best. Funny enough, I had like an argument like 10 years ago with someone who was like, "No, email is dead," and I'm like, "Bro, you don't know." And he's a very successful business person who did a successful Kickstarter campaign also. And yeah, he's wrong, dude. Email still...
For sure. I've always doubted the email list until I saw how useful it is.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best things that
It's still one of the best. Like, yeah, people try to do text messages now and stuff, but I don't think so. Like, yeah, email's like the most personal conduit you can have with somebody still that's acceptable, because people have control over their inboxes. You can give out your email, it's fine. So yeah, that's good. But yeah, Discord's like that. I also think forums, it's really mainly replaced what forums used to be coming up. Now you can and it's like a micro version, right? So people are in dozens sometimes of these little communities. So it's message boards essentially, I think is what mainly take over. And also if you've ever used Slack before at a company, I use Slack for my company, my W-2 job, Discord's like free Slack, so it's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, it's a voice chat, be able to share photos, it's like just for building like a community of people, it's great.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to the email list thing, I've been doing some research on Kickstarters lately, and so like I've seen some Kickstarters lately where the person will have zero following pretty much on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. And the only way that they're marketing is just using the base Kickstarter email list of people that have signed up to just see whenever a cool Kickstarter is coming out. So as long as you're able to make something on Kickstarter that will make it to the front page and will be seen in like projects we love, sort of thing, it'll be sent out to that group of people and it'll raise $500,000 or $1 million or something. It'll go viral in that little community of people.
Yeah, it's sick. Seems like not guaranteed. They're going to get kind of lucky if they platform you.
Yeah. I think there is a little bit of a meta to it, where if you make a certain kind of project, like the things that I'm talking about are like plushies, like custom Cthulhu plushies. Like the market or the audience is like adult kids stuff. So it's like, like Cthulhu themed plushie or something, or like a cutesy shot glass or whatever. But the only reason I'm saying that is it's like you don't necessarily need a giant following to, like, the following is only there as a means to like put your product in front of people.
Yeah.
And if the platform is already doing that for you, then you don't necessarily need that giant following. But yeah, I think it does give you some autonomy, but yeah, other than that, I don't think there's a huge, a massive reason for it.
No, not early on. I mean, no, it wasn't until I started selling stuff or trying to teach, my own thing that it became valuable to me. Same thing with Discord. It's helped me. Discord, I started the channel. I guess people are asking me about it, and I go, okay, I guess so, and I'll make one. And so people in my community will help moderate it, and I send people there from my YouTube. So it's kind of like the community that's attached to my YouTube, so I can actually chat with people and answer questions, and we'll do streams in there. So it's a nice little thing that kind of takes the community off the platform. So for me, I guess it was an extension of YouTube is how it started. But yeah, now it's cool. I can just talk to the people that obviously are interested in the same stuff I'm interested in. That's what's cool about nowadays. Right. You can find those communities. Yeah, so it's great.
Yeah. Well, I guess going back to like the very beginning of the conversation of like, how do you choose what to do? Again, it seemed like everything stems from that initial drawing class, and eventually you do find interest in doing the things that you weren't initially interested in just because you added context to it. Like for me, the idea of doing digital marketing in the very beginning sounded like the most tedious thing on the planet, and now it's something that I'm like slightly obsessive over, just because it has like a direct context to my life and like a relevance to the thing that I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, advice I give people, because, there's so many different questions and everything. So someone will come to me and say, how do you do this? How do you do that? Or how do I learn how to blah, 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 right? Or what do I learn first? Things like that. And the thing is, when you're doing 3D modeling, it's like infinite amount of configurations and things that you can learn. So my advice to people is always choose a project that you're really interested in at the time, something you're passionate about. Find some design or remake whatever it is. Like you're going to do some 3D modeling project and then commit to that project. And then through that project, it's going to force you to learn how to do some stuff. That doesn't make sense to sit down and try to map out, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to learn this, like with zero context, because there's an infinite amount of things that are just all these different configurations. So it's better to just have this end goal, the final product that you're working towards, and then you kind of have to grow and fill that space that it takes to do it. Like the gaps in your knowledge will have to get filled in to complete this one thing. And then you move on to the next project, and eventually you'll accumulate all these skills. So that's kind of what's happening with your business. And that's kind of how, even super globally, like I think the things that made the biggest impression on me are like VFX shots from like early movies, like Jurassic Park or Terminator or whatever. And in a way, I almost feel like everything I do is headed towards just trying to learn how to do that stuff, and then everything just kind of comes out. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to learn this, you got to whatever it is. So it grows from there.
Is your pie in the sky like, thing that you would love to do? Is it like movies and stuff?
My pie in the sky is to create like an animated short or an animated thing, like a Love, Death, Robots episode, right? That I make. That would be sick, And I just feel like it's just out of reach, but that's what I daydream about, because obviously I'm a modeler first, but like learning, it's getting more approachable to learn animation and motion capture and editing. And now, I try to learn Unreal Engine to do the various aspects. There's literal episodes of Secret Level and Love, Death, Robots that are finished in Unreal Engine. Just recently, a short film got an Oscar that was made in Unreal Engine. And so, yeah, I mean, it just feels like again, that wave I talked about earlier, like early on, I looked and I go, wow. And you find out how much it took to make these things and millions of dollars, and it becomes out of reach. So it's like, okay, maybe I'll join a studio. Maybe I'll learn this. And so this, like, it's reaching the singularity, which is we have computers in our rooms and we can make whatever we want. That kind of feels like where things are headed. And that's what I would love to do, is just create my own little stories. That would be sick, to try to create characters that can give performances and everything. That seems awesome.
All right. Yeah. And it again, I think the thing there is that no matter what, it's that an aspiration to keep on moving forward and getting better at whatever the next thing you're going to do is.
Yeah.
Cool. I think this is enough in terms of a podcast. Do you have any other final closing thoughts or anything, or?
Closing thoughts. Oh, well, I kind of am a podcaster myself, I guess. That's weird to say, but I think I have to own it. So I just recently got a lot more serious on my side of things with quote unquote interviewing people. So yeah, I have this little series that I'm calling Pixel Peeps now, where I just hit up people, essentially, like, you know, on our station, like trending, I'll see amazing work and I'll message them and be like, hey, do you want to talk about how you did this? And so yeah, that's the idea. So I'm interviewing people. I've got several already done, and they'll come out of my channel. So if you're into this sort of thing, I think all creative people will be interested in it. I definitely listen to stuff that I don't do, but definitely if you're a 3D modeler, I think you'd be interested. It's for the nerds. So we go long form, and you know, they're gracious enough to share their files behind the scenes, and I get to ask my own questions that I want to know. How'd you make this? Why'd you do this? And just for me to learn and grow and share it with people that are also interested in this stuff. So that's what I would mention is you could check out Pixel Peeps wherever and on my channel.